Have you noticed how some people just seem to connect with young people? From the very first meeting, they're on the same page and they seem to be on the same wavelength, traveling down the same path. And yet you aren't quite there. They just don't sync up with you in the same way. Perhaps this is because you are less familiar than you should be with what is called a youth development approach. A youth development approach is a mindset that helps adults work with kids in a way that you bring out the very best in those young people, and it allows you to build a very solid relationship with them so that you too can be in sync. Join us now for a class entitled Youth Development, an Approach. Youth development is not a curriculum. Once in a while I'll hear people say, well, we're going to go out and do youth development. I'm not really exactly sure how you do youth development. Youth development is a concept, an approach for how you deal with young people. And it's based on the research that was done in the 90s, the late 80s and 90s, that really helps us to take a look at young people in a different way. So let's talk about this whole idea of an approach versus curriculum. An approach means your mindset. It's how you look at things. Now you may use certain curriculums that you will practice a youth development approach within, but actually you can practice that approach in any curriculum, in any setting. Prior to the real advocacy for young people that ended up in being called the youth development movement, young people were looked at as problems or challenges to be fixed. And what people did is they said, well, here are young people that are doing exactly what society demands of them. And these are the kids who need to be in extracurricular activities. They need art class and music class and dance class, and they need to have all of these extra things because they are in line with what we expect of young people. Now, there's this other group of young people who are making some really poor decisions, making poor choices, and so what we need to do is fix them. So we'll teach them how to say no to drugs and alcohol. We'll teach them how to say no to poor choices and bad behavior. We'll fix this little part of them, and then the rest will fall into line. What youth development practitioners realized is this: all kids, every single one of them, need to have an opportunity to participate in things that are of interest to them. If they're interested in music, they all need to be in music class. If they're interested in sports, they need to all be in sports, or art, or cheerleading, or science classes. Whatever young people are interested in, no matter what their behavior, they all need the same opportunity. Now, when you take that a step further, what you realize is that a youth development approach looks at young people as possibilities, as potential to be developed, rather than as some singular behavior that needs to be fixed or repaired. Certainly, Search Institute's 40 Developmental Assets do a lot with this and talk about both the external and the internal assets that young people need to develop so that they will be resilient. Remember that resiliency is the ability to bounce back no matter what. And what we know is this, that young people who have a positive relationship with a caring adult are much more likely to bounce back. And the reason that they can have a relationship with a positive, caring adult is because that adult understands a youth development approach. So, if you were to take a look at 3 key things about young people in a youth development approach, the first one is young people are capable. They are able to do far more than we would ever think that they could do. The second part is that they are assets to be developed, that they are full of potential, and we just need to give them an opportunity to unleash that. The third thing that we need to understand in a youth development approach is that young people can and will make decisions in their own best interest, that we don't always need to take that decision making away from them because they are capable of making good, strong decisions. One of the people who has been very, very popular in working through a youth development approach is Stephen Glenn. Mr. Glenn passed away several years ago, but he left a legacy in his program called Developing Capable Young People. The premise of this program is simply this, that as adults, we need to become better prepared to create a space for young people to develop and to demonstrate their capabilities. And that when that doesn't happen, it really probably rests on the shoulders of the adult who did not handle the situation in a way that empowered young people, but rather in a way that disempowered them. Glenn's program is divided into 3 perceptions and 4 skills. And he says that when young people develop those 3 perceptions and those 4 skills, that they are much more likely to be successful in life. He believes that developing these will not only increase a young person's resiliency, but also their integrity and those other skills that they need so that they will not just be resilient over and over and over, but be very capable of changing direction or moving beyond a challenge. The whole purpose of Glenn's program, Developing Capable Young People, was to help young people be successful in their school life and then successful in their life beyond the classroom. So let's take a look at the 3 perceptions and the 4 skills. I think you'll find it very interesting, and it will help to illuminate for you the importance of this whole approach to youth development. The first perception that young people must develop is that they are capable. Young people have to believe, I can do this. I can be strong, I can accomplish things, I can work towards my goals. In other words, they need to think like the 6-year-old who commented when asked why he was doing so well with his homework. He simply looked and he said, as he pointed to his program leader, he said, I was smart, so I am. The child did not have to be convinced of his capabilities. He believed in them. So the first perception is one of I am capable. The second important perception that young people have to have is that their lives are significant. This is so important for all of us to understand on a core level that each of us has a unique contribution to make, and that should we for some reason not make that contribution, the world will be diminished because of it. So when young people embrace the fact that their life matters, and they understand that because people demonstrate that to them over and over, they are better able to step up and to take their role in the world and make their unique contribution. The third perception is one of influence. Young people need to know that what they think, how they behave, what they do can have an impact, not only on themselves but on others, that they can influence their peers to make better choices, that they can influence the environment by the decisions they make, and that they can influence the adults in their life by sharing with them what's on their mind. So when we look at these 3 perceptions, the perception of being capable, the perception of being significant, and the perception of having influence, if young people can come together with those 3 perceptions, they will be able to move forward in a very positive way. And if we help young people by empowering them to embrace those 3 perceptions, we are practicing a youth development approach. Now, Glenn also goes on to say, look, it's not just enough to have these 3 perceptions. You have to have some skills as well. And he identified 4 key skill areas that young people need to develop. The first skill set has to do with intrapersonal relationships. In other words, how does a young person see themselves? Not how does the world see them, but how do they see themselves? Do they see themselves as competent? Do they see themselves as capable? Are they confident in their ability to move forward? Do they believe that they can be self-disciplined? Are they self-aware? What is going on in that young person? So that intrapersonal skill development is incredibly important. What is the voice that's playing in the head of the young person when others have gone silent? Those are the voices of intrapersonal skills that give young people affirmations and praises, or can give them such self-talk that they tend to back away and not be willing to recognize their own potential. So what we want to help young people develop is that positive self-talk so that they can find value in themselves. So the first skill set is intrapersonal. The second skill set is the opposite of intrapersonal. It is interpersonal. The ability of the young person to make connections with others. Can they communicate clearly? Can they express themselves? Can they listen to others? Can they make their decisions based on the group as a whole? What are their understandings of how other people see the space, the problem, the challenge, and the opportunity? So developing those interpersonal skills, that ability to connect to another person and build a strong relationship with others, is incredibly important. So it's both intra and interpersonal skills that young people must develop. A third set of skills are identified as systemic skills. Young people, just like the rest of us, live in a world of systems, systems that are around us and are impacting us on a regular basis. They need to understand how to navigate in these systems and to be flexible within those systems in order to be successful. Some of those systems include environment. We all live in this world, and the environment impacts us day after day. So how do young people navigate within those that environmental system? Other systems are elaborate social systems. Young people are very wrapped up in social or peer interactions, and those are challenging to navigate. There are rules and guidelines that affect the young people and how well they do there. There is a legal system. Certain rules and regulations have to be followed, and you need to know how to navigate within that. And of course, there is the whole system of education and how to launch yourself forward in the world of education to be sure that you're receiving the education you need and then launching yourself into the world of career. So really learning how to navigate and live within those systems is incredibly important for young people, and those are skill set number 3. The final set of skills that young people need to develop is a skill set around judgment. And you know, nothing can replace the importance of human judgment. The ability to assess a situation, to make a decision, and then act upon that decision in a way that is to the best interest of everyone is what judgment is all about. You cannot start practicing judgment at age 18 and be any good at it. You have to begin practicing judgment about the time you start to move around. Kids have to have an opportunity to make decisions and live with the consequences of those decisions. Now, obviously, you're not going to let a child or a youth get into a dangerous situation and be injured in a critical way. But a lot of times we try and rescue young people from a decision that will really only cause a moment of discomfort and nothing that would be truly dangerous to them. Judgment is developed step by step by step, and it's important to give young people the opportunity to practice judgment anytime we can. So we have the 3 perceptions, and then we have the 4 skills: interpersonal, intrapersonal, the ability to have judgment, and also the ability to work within systems. So according to Glenn's plan around developing capable young people, when we work with young people on those 7 critical significant areas, we will help them to develop and reach their own potential in a way that working with them in any other way will not allow. So a youth development approach looks at young people, looks at the possibility of them, believes in them, helps to build resiliency within them so that when they do make a mistake, it's simply that, it's just a mistake. They can dust themselves off and move forward and develop the wisdom, the integrity, and the skill set needed to be a success in life.